afternoon. I'm going to move this so you can see me. I've got to apologize today. I am losing my voice. So if I lose it before it's over, we'll just see a bunch of pictures. It is my pleasure to give you some snippets and milestones and review of some of the projects we've had over the last 50 years. You can't hardly begin to touch the surface of what we've done in 50 years, but I think this will be maybe a fun and interesting view into some of the things that have gone on at the Elmira Rotary Club over the past 50 years. So I guess what better place to start than with this celebration? And that celebration was that's not the right picture. Okay, go up. Wrong direction. Or down, I'm sorry, down.
Oh, okay, down.
There we go.
Okay.
To start with the 50th anniversary celebration that took place at Mark Twain Hotel in 1966. The Mark Twain Hotel was one of several locations where Elmira hosted their regular Tuesday meetings. A couple of the others were the Federation Building, which you may remember Joe talked about in our presentation a month ago, and of course the Elmira Downtown Holiday Inn, which we've been here since 1974. This picture just shows a group of past presidents that were at the celebration, and from left to right is Ed Hardiman, who was the president in 1954, Douglas Anderson in 1934. The third gentleman in from the left is Leslie Clute. Leslie was one of the charter members of the club and may have been the only charter member that remained in the club in 1966. Also Elvin Brown, 1930 president, Robert McDowell, 1942, Earl Rydell, who many of us, at least have been here for a while, probably remember because he was in the club into the 90s. He was president in 1965, and Garth Shoemaker, who was president in 1943. Believe it or not, we have 4 members, current members of our club, that were members here in 1966. Anybody want to take a guess as to who they might be? There's one of them. Mud.
Ernie.
Ernie is one. Yep.
You got me.
Rob had to think about it. It might be me. Rob joined in 1966. Mud joined in 1957. Ernie in 1963. And the fourth is Ed Grant, who was a member in 1964. Do any of you guys, were any of you at this celebration of the 50th anniversary? Don't remember. I don't remember either, so I can't help you out.
Yeah.
I think Mud has the honor of being our oldest standing member.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah, how about let's give Mud a round of applause. And he's still here watching and enjoying. Okay.
Now we'll go to the next one.
In 1968, retired boxer Norm Chuck Jennings presented an idea that he conceived to the Elmira Rotary Club Board of Directors of establishing a good home for boys who might be lacking such an environment because of a broken home, poor parental care, or other circumstance. Rotarians liked the idea and helped in the planning and startup of the Elmira Clubhouse. Pictured here are Chuck Jennings on the right as they discuss their ideas on WELM radio with Elmira Rotarians from left, George Weaver, past president Judge John Frawley, Bernie DeMember, and past president Bob Snowden. Clubhouse has grown significantly over the years, and we're lucky now to have the new CEO and president, Brian Percheski, as a member of the club. And Brian was telling me before the meeting that Clubhouse now reaches into, how many counties did you tell me?
We have contracts with 27. We serve about 800 kids and families a year.
It's unbelievable that program started here in Elmira Rotary, had a part in the beginning of the Clubhouse. Ed Marisak, who was one of the early presidents, president of Clubhouse, was a longtime member of the club here. Elmira Rotarians love to have fun, love to play sports. Here there's a group gathered at Dunn Field before a Pioneer home game. I'm sure that most of you recognize a few of these people, but Archie Kiefer down in the lower left. I recognize in the upper, the third one in on the left, Aid Husselbauer, she was a longtime member of the club. I don't recognize many of the others, but I'm sure some of you may.
Bottom right is Ally Catrano.
Now I should know that because the Quatrano Park was my
Yeah.
project.
That might be Dave Pierce, fourth from the right.
Okay.
I'm not sure, is it?
But anyway, the club also supported teams in volleyball, basketball. They participated in golf tournaments, often against Elmira Kiwanians, and often as a fundraiser and activities. Bill Kistler often talked about going to bowling tournaments with John Humphrey and others around the Rotary District for Rotary bowling tournaments. So I guess we had a regular team that traveled around back in the days. WLM Radio Day and later radio days were major fundraisers that went on throughout the years. Club members would go on the air, talk about the club, talk about our projects, entertain, and solicit money from the listening community. And that raised a lot of money over the years. As you can see here, just on this thing, it raised $60,000 for community projects. In 1973, Pat Rooning, who was on the right here, made a pitch to the club for Tanglewood Nature Center on West Hill Road to be a major project from the club. Elmira Rotary jumped on it and got on board, and Pat was the main developer of the Tanglewood concept. The education building that was built up on the West Hill campus was later named in honor or in memory of Pat Rooning. In the 1920s and 30s on that site also, which was owned by the land there was owned by the Elmira Water Board, Elmira Rotary, through their Arbor Day project, planted trees on that area. So we've had a long connection with that site on West Hill. When Tanglewood moved to its current location on Coleman Avenue in 1973, Elmira Rotary funded the construction of the pond that exists right next to the main building. And I think this land is land that Polly Smith Blackwell grew up on. Is that correct, Polly? That land was conveyed by her family to Tanglewood for the Nature Center. I think you live up on the hill and overlook the pond there, don't you, still?
We do.
Ray Simmons, second from the left and known for his bow ties, was one of 3 district governors that Elmira Rotary had throughout our 100-year history. Ray was governor in 1966 and 1967. Others were Walt Lindell in 1939 and 1940, and George Gould, who served as district governor for 2 years in 1978 and 1980. Ray, also known as Mr. Rotary, became the first Paul Harris Fellow from the Elmira Rotary Club in 1974. And I happen to have that certificate right here. It was in the archives as I was going through, came across this. Ray and his wife didn't have any children, and so his stuff was conveyed to the Rotary Club after he passed away in 1966. Ray was such an integral part of the Elmira Rotary Club that in later years in his life, and he wasn't able to attend meetings, they would have a Ray Simmons Day, and if you didn't show up with a bow tie, you were fined. In this picture on the left is, of course, most all of you know, is Archie Kiefer. He was the 1974 president of the club. 1973 President Ed Netsky, District Governor Dick Halstead, and Victoria Linnell, who was a District 712 Rotary Scholar who the Elmira Rotary Club sponsored. She was from Elmira. During Archie's year as president in 1974, Elmira Rotary gave an electronic carillon to Chemung County on the occasion of the county's 200th anniversary. The bell was given on permanent loan with the First Presbyterian Church through the efforts of Rotarian Walt Coleman. I stopped by to take a picture of the carillon, which is still there and still rings today. It's on Court Street, on Lake Street at the courthouse. And I just happened to show up at noon, and the carillon started ringing while I was there. I should have got a video of that. That would have been pretty cool.
Fantastic.
But it's really neat to see these projects that we're involved with still being a part of this community. In 1977, Elmira Rotary took on a 3-year project to honor the 75th anniversary of Rotary International, which was to come up in 1980, and the 50th year of soaring in Elmira, by presenting the city of Elmira with a rotating sailplane sculpture designed by Ernie Schweitzer. Ernie was a brother of Paul and Bill Schweitzer, who were both members of the Rotary Club for quite a long time. Original estimates for the sculpture were between $50,000 and $60,000, which was way beyond the club budget of $15,000 to $18,000. Through the use of BOCES high school students that could contribute their labor, several local industries that agreed to help out with certain operation materials, and volunteers from Schweitzer Aircraft, the project was completed well within the budget. Elmira Rotarians even chipped in with their own labor of grinding and polishing the rotating sailplane wheels. I'm sorry, the sailplane sails, whatever it is.
And didn't we just restore that a
We
couple
did.
years ago?
The
Just
motor,
a
yeah.
couple years ago, we helped restore the workings inside, so the thing would tilt, and you can still go down and see this. For those of you who don't know where this is or haven't seen it, it's just east of Clemens Center Parkway and Riverfront Park, and still rotating. The sculpture symbolizes the persistent spirit of the people in making our community a better place in which to live and work. A picture of the sculpture appeared on the cover of the December 1980 Soaring magazine, along with a 2-page article by Ernie Schweitzer. That was pretty cool. We actually have a copy of that magazine in the archives. You can get an idea how big it is. The bay, just up to where the pieces come out holding the sailplane, is 9 feet high. It's a large monument.
Those trees now tower over it.
Yeah. They didn't used to be, right?
Yeah.
Or they did.
Okay.
Doing multi-year projects seemed to be a thing when in 1973 Elmira Rotary Club purchased a flood-damaged home from the Elmira Urban Renewal Agency with the idea of renovating it for resale and returning to the tax rolls. Now when you think of that, think of a club buying a house and spending 3 years renovating. It's really an amazing task for any volunteer organization. All the work done during the next 3 years was done by Elmira Rotarians. The project was done during the presidential terms of Al Falcone, Bob Bucher, and Dave Klofsky. Pictured here are Al Falcone in the center and Paul Shore on the right working on the house. Here's a picture of the finished house as it looked in 1985. I want you to take a real good look at that, and then I'm going to show you the next picture. This was taken yesterday. It's amazing. It looks identical to the way it looked in 1985. I think it's a testament to the work that these guys did that it still stands and looks the same, and a lot of major work hasn't been done. Pretty incredible. As a result of a 1987 Supreme Court ruling, U.S.-based Rotary clubs were no longer considered private clubs and were allowed, and therefore not allowed, to exclude women. Elmira Rotary Club had been having discussions on the issue of women joining Rotary for 10 years prior to that, but had never gotten around to approving it. Elmira Rotary had a tradition of inviting wives to meetings on the months that had a 5th Tuesday, which was usually 4 times a year, and some members thought that was enough. And that's a quote. That tradition continued of having that the fifth Tuesday well into the 1990s, as I remember that even after I was here as a member. After the court ruling, the board of directors voted unanimously to admit women as members. To quote Ray Simmons, "Some diehards can't see it. They're so used to men, but they'll get used to it." In June of 1987, club president Ernie Edelman was the co-sponsor of Janet Krause, publisher of the Star-Gazette, for membership. And here, a young Ernie pinned Janet Krause as Elmira Rotary's first woman member. Carol Lincoln was also one of the earlier members, having joined in 1988. Our Youth Salute program was started in 1988 to give high school juniors an opportunity to compete for scholarships. This is a major ongoing project of the club which will celebrate its 30th anniversary this year, and currently offers a total of $4,500 to the top 3 selected, with $3,000 going to the first place winner. From the beginning of this project, the Elmira Star-Gazette has co-sponsored the event and has been chaired for many years by Polly Smith-Backwell. Thank you, Polly. In 1989, Elmira Rotary sponsored the Chemung AM, now Chemung Sunrise Rotary Club. This was the last of the 11 Rotary clubs which our club started. Here from left to right are Elmira Rotary Club President Jack Forrest, District Governor Jim Wilkinson, Chemung AM Charter President Al Prusel, and Elmira Rotarian Dean Kimball. During Jack Forrest's year as president of the club, we reached a high membership mark of 239 members. I think that's pretty amazing when you think back about that. Elmira Rotary started its major fundraiser, the Home Show, in 1990. The show was a 3-day weekend event, first held